One of the things that differentiates us as gay people is that we're in the process of creating a culture. For example, here in Los Angeles, a community didn't exist in 1969. 68, 60, 67, 68, when I first got involved, there were a few gay bars, pretty shady, seedy kinds of places where most people were living in self-hatred and denial. No community whatsoever. And by community, I mean a group of people who assume responsibility for each other. Simply didn't exist. And so that what we're talking about with a conscious community existing, gay community, we're talking about a very short period in history. It's a wink of an eye. 30 years, 33 years, that's nothing.
The awakening of gay people is one of the greatest stories of all times. That's my portrait of the founder of the modern gay liberation movement. Mr. Harry Hay, he founded the Mattachine Society here in Los Angeles, which was the first ongoing political group of gays in the history of the United States back in 1950. So these were very brave men who started the movement here in Los Angeles. One day, we got a call from Dankl Hefner, who had been reading some of Harry's writings. And it was from that meeting that they decided to do the first gathering of radical fairies, which was a seminal event in the history of gay male consciousness. It was as significant to our spiritual evolution as the Stonewall Revolution had been to our civil rights part of our lives a decade before. Soon there were calls being issued for regional gatherings in every corner of the United States and in Canada. And eventually about 80 acres of beautiful rolling farmland was purchased as sort of a fairy sanctuary.
Our elders have so many rich stories that I haven't even heard. And last night at the fire, people were speaking about the gay liberation movement, and I think about the legacy of Harry Hay and all those who gave so much of their life to the gay liberation movement. They were all pushing the envelope and created a space for me to be who I am today.
I came out into the fairy community in the early 80s, and I've always known that I love men, but what I love about the fairy community is that it's more than that, and it's more of a spiritual thing. It's something that informs our existence, and there is also the grounding in the two-spirit tradition, Berdache inspiration, and also in the medieval Europe, pre-medieval Europe, Faggot tradition.
Okay, we've got legal rights in 38 states now, and maybe that's enough and we can rest. That isn't enough. That's just the surface.
Sociobiologists and other people, anthropologists who have investigated this question for the last 100 years are almost unanimous in reporting that there are certain occupations and roles that we seem to be drawn to in percentages, proportions, much greater than our proportion of the population. Those would be, in broad sense, in areas around healing and service work to the community. E.O. Brown, for example, at Harvard, the father of the sociobiology field, has says in his book on human nature that gay and lesbian people carry the altruistic impulse in our species, that we carry something around the betterment and furtherance and support of other people that allows our species to keep evolving. One of my teachers is Malidoma Somé, who is initiated elder with the Dagara people in West Africa, in Burkina Faso. And in his traditional village, there are gay and lesbian people. They're not called gay and lesbian people, but they're there. And he says in his traditional village, they refer to them as gatekeepers. I said, gatekeepers, what do you mean by that? He said, well, the gatekeepers are important is because they are the people who keep harmony between this world, the visible world, and the invisible world, the world of ancestors and spirits. They also keep balance and harmony between people in the village, and they keep balance and harmony between the people and nature. Now, it isn't that we begin doing it. We play those roles whether or not we're aware of them or not. Gravity works whether you believe in it or not. And the same way that gay identity, gay roles that we play, we're doing them whether we're conscious of them or not. The only difference right now is that we have an opportunity to do this dance in life with a consciousness and awareness that we never had before.
You know, our culture doesn't provide much eldering. And I've looked for my models really in cultures other than our own, you know, indigenous cultures, Native American communities, where elders are revered, you know, as were gay people.